Good evening, everyone. First of all, we want to say thank you for the time that have given us. In this questions, we will try to presentation our PowerPoint about my Antonia, book 3. Let's begin. My name is Arifa and my group members are Hanna Irfenia, Salsabila Nazhifah, Nabila Citra, and Nabila Indah Naura. Okay, I will explain summary of chapter 1 of my Antonia book 3. In the first point, Jim goes off to college in Lincoln and begins to study Latin under a young instructor named Gaston Cleric. It's meant that at the university, uh, okay. It's meant that at the university, Jim had the good fortune to come immediately under the influence of a brilliant and inspiring young scholar named Gaston Cleric. He had arrived in Lincoln only a few weeks earlier than Jim to begin his work as head of the Latin department. Next point, Jim stays in Lincoln. It's mean for his first summer vacation, Jim chooses to stay in Lincoln. Jim stays in Lincoln during the summer studying Greek, and he spends a lot of time socializing with Gaston, who helps effect his mental awakening. During that time, the university is still very new and it is full of earnest young men from the farms and enthusiastic young instructors. Um, the next point, um, the students have very free personal lives. They don't have dorms, so they live wherever they want. Jim took rooms with an old couple, illustrators in Lincoln, who had married off their children and now lived quietly in their house at the edge of town, near the open country. The house was inconveniently situated for students, and on that account, Jim got 2 rooms for the price of one, so he uses one as a study. Uh, Next point, Jim buys a nice big chair so that Jason has a place to sit when he comes to visit. He also buys Benedictine and Gaston's favorite cigarettes so the man will stay and talk for a long time when he's there. Gaston doesn't talk too much in a crowd, but he's verbose when alone with Jim. Gaston talks very vividly and politically, and Jim imagines that he might have been a poet if he didn't waste so much creativity talking to other people. And the last point, one night while they talk about dance, Cleric repeats passage from Divine Comedy, just as Virgil inspired dance, so does Gaston awaken Jim to scholarly pursuit and the world beyond Black Hawk. Although he admires Gaston uh, and Jim feels tied to the land and his childhood friends much more strongly than he does to his scholarly pursuits. Okay, that's all for summary of chapter 1. Next summary is chapter 2.
Okay, everyone, I'll do a presentation of summary of chapter 2, book 3, my Antonia. Um, at the start of paragraph in chapter 2, we can see the author's description about how is James' room and the weather outside. He was sitting in his room alone, and the next thing he knows, someone is knocking at his door. He realized that it is Lena Linger, desert in her city finery. They talk for a while. They talk about all kinds of things, mostly about how each other was doing, Lena business and Lena intention for building her mother a house, about Antonia, the things Jim studying, and theater. As Lena spoke, Jim started playing flashback on his head about his childhood memories with Lena and Mary. When Jim asks after Antonia, Lena explains that Antonia has taken up work with Mrs. Gardiner at the hotel and is engaged to Lady Donovan. Jim greets this news with a mixture of pleasure and dismay, and he mentions an urge to go home and take care of her. After they talk, Jim asks if she will like to get together for a theater outing in the near future. Lena agrees to this proposal and departs as quickly as she comes. When Jim returned to his room, he felt that the room was warmer and pleasanter than before, and he thinks it is because Lena. I think that's all a summary of chapter 2. We can move to the next chapter.
Okay, I want to explain to you guys about the summary of chapter 3. The first point, throughout the spring, Jim and Lena attend a series of plays together. And the second one play in particular, Camille, the story of a man, love for a woman dying of tuberculosis affects them both very strongly. And I add some more point. Um, the third point is Lena and Jim go to the theater often that spring, although Lena insists on paying for her own seat. Lena loved the glamour of the theater with its champagne, sterling, silver, dishware, and roses. And the fourth point, at the theater, Jim feels like a man with Lena. When Jim and Lena see a performance of Dumas Camille, Jim sympathizes with the young character Armand, who falls in love with older Marguerite, who is dying of tuberculosis, but he and Lena are moved to tears. Jim drops off Lena at home, then wanders the rainy streets pondering the relationship between Armand and Marguerite. The next is summary of chapter 4.
Okay, I will explain a summary of chapter 4. In one point, the one point is in addition to spending time with Lena at the theater, Jim visits her regularly at her dressmaking shop and takes Sunday breakfast with her at her apartment. And the next point is once Ordinsky, who usually glares at Jim in the hall, comes in to ask Lena to help him mend some clothes with his wearing. Jim begins to be lax in his studies and spends all his time playing with Lena, Prince Ordinsky, and the colonel. It's a summary of chapter 4 in part 1, and the next part is It is explained by Salsa.
Okay, yeah, I will continue the summary of chapter 4. Jimin and Lena's apartment are in love with her at the time. A Polish violin teacher named Mr. Ordinsky and her landlord, the colonel, who liked to frequently renovate her rooms for her. Once Ordinsky, who usually glares at Jim, the hall, comes in to ask Lena to help him mend some clothes he is wearing. When Lena goes out of the room, Orlinsky warns him that his intentions had better be noble, and Jim assures him that they are uh, and that he and Lena have known each other for a long time. Afterwards, Orlinsky is friendly to Jim. Jim begins to relax in his studies and spends all his time playing with Lena. Prince Orlinsky and the colonel Gaston notice and ask him to join her party. Grandfather approves, and Jim is somewhat sad and tries to convince himself that by dealing with Lena, he is preventing her from burdening herself with marriage. He goes to see Lena and they talk about how Ordinsky and the colonel have crushed on her. Lena tells him that she will never marry because she doesn't want to be accountable to anyone and because she had enough family life. When Jim tells her he is going away, Lena says that maybe shouldn't have begun their little life to coming to visit them that one day, but she confessed that she always wanted to be his first sweetheart. Jim leaves Lincoln to visit his grandparents in Blackout and his relatives in Virginia before finally joining private Harvard. Okay, thank you guys. Back to the moderator. That's all for present. That's all for our presentation about my Antonia book 3. Thank you for your attention.